Hello, welcome to Recentered, episode 6. My name is Gary from the YouTube channel Immersed Robot, and joining me, as always, is Rog, also known as Flute Rogie. And this week, we've also got a guest in the name of Simplex. And for anybody who doesn't know, Simplex is a VR enthusiast who also runs a podcast. And is it the only Polish language podcast? Is that right, Simplex?
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us about it, introduce yourself and tell us about your podcast?
Hi, my name is Simplex, also sometimes called Simplex PL, and I run what I call the best Polish VR podcast. It's the best because it's the only one.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been here first. And yeah, the podcast is called M Quadrat, which means M squared, and that name is actually not related to VR at all because it just stems from the first two guys that run it had names that started with M, both of them, so they named it M squared.
Oh, right.
Because of two M's, and now none of them is actually working on it anymore. So I took it over and changed it into more VR centered. But we also, of course, talk about other things like normal like pancake games and sometimes some TV series or news from the gaming industry. So yeah, I've been running this podcast for like 5 or 6 years, and it's in Polish, of course. So you don't have to worry about it if you're not Polish because it's all in Polish.
I did. I have tried to watch a few episodes just in research for this, but of course, it's not a lot of use for me.
Yeah.
But I've seen it.
Although I also have a YouTube channel, and there I also sometimes try to record or stream some gameplays of games, mostly VR, but not only. So there's also that. But the commentary is also in Polish. So you have any Polish friends, you can just direct them towards my podcast.
Will do. Why don't you just tell us quickly as well how you got into VR in the first place?
Yeah, I think I was always interested in video games. I was always a nerd. I loved science fiction. I loved video games, and I actually tested my first VR headset in the 90s. It was the famous or infamous VFX1.
Oh, yeah.
Very briefly, it just like gave me a headache, as it does. And then I forgot about VR for many years because, of course, it was like died. That premature 90s, thing should never have happened because it like poisoned the well for many years. But then when Oculus made a Kickstarter, I was interested. I didn't back it myself then. I don't really remember why. But my friend did, and maybe he didn't, but he got a DK2. When you could actually buy them, and he borrowed it. I lent it from him, and I used it for a few months. And I played I Expect You to Die, the demo, the Dinosaur Island from Crytek, and if you remember that egg, so all that stuff. And there was this famous thing that when there was this game, maybe you remember, when the game was trying to troll you to like look away. It would like put candles on your hands or like smash a laptop.
Yeah, don't let go.
Exactly. Yep. So so we have some common memories there. And then
Absolutely.
I bought Vive because I thought that Oculus without the motion controllers is not as good as Vive, which has motion controls. So I was in the Vive camp. At some point in time, I also bought Rift when it like got cheaper and they had introduced Touch. I backed on a Kickstarter Pimax 5K, and I got it and I used it for some time, but the jank actually got too much for me and I sold it. I actually sold it. I think I either broke even or I even earned some money on selling Pimax because I bought it. It was very cheap on the Kickstarter, right? Because it was Kickstarter. So that was a good deal. And I also have a PSVR. I played most of the good exclusive on it, and I have a PS Aim too. And at one point I bought Quest, then I switched it to Quest 2. So I currently have a Quest 2. I also bought Valve Index. I heard, Gary, that you're selling it, but let's not, spoil it.
Okay.
And I also bought Pico 4 recently, so I'm a very fresh Pico 4 user. So I hope I will be able to talk some more about it. So I think I'm more interested now in the VR news and the new things that happen. I also backed Lynx R1.
Oh, really? I was going to ask you about that because we will be talking about that later as well,
And I also, what I'm starting to really regret, backed the Arpara thing.
Oh yeah,
Right.
And that seems that this is approaching scam territory now, and
yeah.
and actually, after I backed it, I learned that they were previously had a different name, and they just rebranded. And none of the YouTubers, even the ones that warned about them, which I think is a good thing that we were warned about them. But if someone told me that they actually had they were a different company that actually scammed people on another headset that never arrived, I wouldn't back it. But I just learned it after the fact. So they actually had a different name. And
I didn't know this at all.
I mean, me either. I even forgot the name now, but after people started getting very, the current backers of our para started getting, antsy, they started doing research.
Yeah.
And they found out some stuff. Too late. Too late.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's not good.
But I think Lynx will come out. I trust in Stan. So I know it's not his fault that it's so delayed.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident that Lynx will definitely.
Yeah, you were weren't you one of those people that came that are visiting in France and tested it, right? With Sebastian, it was you, right?
That's right. Yeah. So yeah, I've tried it, and even back then, this is sort of a year ago now, or just over a year ago. Yeah. Even back then, it was it was still early, and there was things that certainly needed doing with it, but you could see that they had a product. And it was not a million miles away even then. There was still a lot of work to do, but you could see where it was going. But we'll get into that a little bit later on as well. But Rog, what have you been up to the past week or couple of weeks, I suppose, since we last spoke?
The same old stuff, really. More mini golf, more Demio. Rat King, 1 health point. I'll never speak of it again. But mainly Resident Evil 4, which I've been holding off on for quite a while, because I finished Resi 7 about a month back now, was it?
On PSVR or on the Prey-Dog mode?
I played it on PSVR. I'm not into mods just don't quite do it for me, and they don't quite do it for my PC as well, which definitely needs a graphics card upgrade. So I just played through it on PSVR, and I really enjoyed it. And I was holding off on Resident Evil 4 simply because I thought, well, what happens if it does get like a PSVR2 makeover? And I was just like chomping at the bit for a bit more of a more heavier game to get into. And so I started playing it, and I'm shocked. I'm proper impressed just because of what they've managed to do on mobile again. And it's I really got into it. I don't get frightened playing horror games. Alien Isolation aside, nothing really bothers me, but it has made me jump twice. Once I was shooting at the fish in the water, and this is a decades-old game now, so no spoilers, but well, you can't really spoil it. But it's a massive, huge fish-type thing where you end up fighting, and if you just stood on the dock shooting the water, the damn thing suddenly like appears right in front of your, mouth open, and just like insta-kills you. So that made me jump. That was a total like instant jump scare there. And the other one was a snake in a crate of all things. Because, like 20, 30 crates later, bash them open with a knife. Suddenly you bash them open and a snake's there and suddenly jumps at you. And so that got me. But proper enjoying it.
I picked it up, and I think it's great as well. The performance is really good. I mean, it looks solid, like crystal clear as well. They've like sort of super sampled it, so it looks really crystal clear. Performance is great. It's a really solid game. I've just not played enough of it, but
Yeah, I finished it, and I finished Resident Evil 7 too.
Yeah,
I think Resident Evil 7 was scarier. That game is more campy, I think.
Yes,
Seven sets up the sort of suspense, doesn't it? It sort of like leads you in. Where with this, it puts you in a village, and then there's like zombie villagers. So it's like there they are. This is more of a shooter at times than Resi 7, which definitely tried to build up the suspense.
But that game is quite long. I think it's even longer than Resident Evil 7. It's really a lot of content.
Right, okay. Resi 7 just took me a tad under 8 hours. 7 hours 50-something, I think. So,
and that one is over 10 hours easily, like easy.
Oh, right, excellent.
Resident Evil 4, when I played that on Quest, the only thing, because it's one of the things I mentioned to you when we spoke about this, Rog, was like the in terms of a VR port, from a flat game to a VR port, we're often used to being disappointed when you see the Bethesda ports like Fallout and Skyrim and those kinds of things. They're great, and I still really enjoy them, but they do leave you wanting a little bit more in terms of VR mechanics. And with this port, it is something that I really noticed. They did sort of seem to go the extra mile in terms of really implementing some really good VR mechanics. The only thing, I mean, I played a little bit, and the game itself does show its age in some ways, like the animations and stuff like that, the enemies and things. But you accept that for what they're doing here anyway, honestly. So, yeah, I really enjoyed what I've played of it.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I'm worried about? I'm worried about that the remake will not be fully in VR.
Yeah.
They've held off saying anything, haven't they? They sort of said, well, they said VR experience.
VR, there was, I can't remember the actual terminology that they used, but it was something which implied
VR content, like additional VR content, something like that.
That's it. Yeah. It was.
But they've taken that off all the current trailers now, haven't they?
Exactly. And when there was this Capcom showcase, right? Yeah. Zero mention of VR. Zero. Yeah. Right. For the remake, but the remake looked amazing. I was really impressed, but no mention of VR.
Maybe they'll save that. Maybe they'll save that for a later date. They've got to get the first, like the remake out for PS5, and then maybe they'll implement that at a later date. Hopefully, anyway. What else have you been playing, Rog?
Yeah, I also had a look at Wooorld, and I say it like that because it's got 3 O's in it for whatever reason. This is basically sort of a Google Earth on your Quest, but not quite. If you're into travel, if you're into geography, different cultures and things like that, I think this is probably a decent pickup. I just grabbed it because I was sort of curious to see how much of the sort of like the Google Earth experience they'd managed to get into it. From that point of view, it's slightly disappointing because you can only scale yourself down so far. Whereas Google Earth, you could enable like a human scale mode, so you could literally get 1-to-1, even though obviously at that sort of scale, because of the way they've mapped everything, it did start to look very sort of janky. Where with this, it looks like you're looking at very tall models, almost as if you've gone to visit like a, Legoland or something like that. Right. But yeah, I mean, for a mobile thing, it's not bad. There's other things in it. You can meet up with people. There's like mini games you can do. So I think one of them is where you see an image of somewhere in the world, and then you've got to go around and try and find out where in the world, that's from. There might be some other stuff as well in there, but I didn't really look that much deeply into it. Really, I should say I just wanted to see what it was like compared to Google Earth.
Yeah, I really like Google Earth. I've not played this, but I have considered it. The thing that I always did in Google Earth, though, was make myself that human scale and made it so it didn't scale the map down, because what it would do is it would scale your size, so you became a giant the higher you went. So you could disable it, and it was much better like that. It's like you're actually flying then.
You're a Superman. It's called Superman mode.
Yes, that's it.
And on Google Earth, you could literally zoom out and see the entire planet. And then spin it around and then go back in. With this, you can't. No, you can only go so far up above, as if you're looking at a map, and then go into that. I mean, for what it is on mobile, if that's your thing, though, it's and give it a try. It's a social experience as well. So if you're into social stuff and into travel as well, it might be worth looking at for you.
Yeah, I've been tempted by it, to be honest. Did you see this one, Simplex, that Wooorld?
Honestly, not. I just remember Google Earth and enjoying that. I have a friend who spent hours in it. Like, it was his most favorite VR app, and he was spend hours and travel around the world. Yeah. So that's a cool use. But I read some comments, and some people are really disappointed that lots of cities, even London, is not full 3D. Yeah. So that's just flat. Some guy from Poland was actually one of the first reviews that I saw that has lots of helpful ratings. It's from a Polish guy who says that whole Poland is flat.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the in terms of that, I mean, because I really enjoyed Google Earth for a long time, but Microsoft Flight Simulator is sort of taking the place of Google Earth, honestly. I'd rather just sort of fly around in a plane and see all these places as well.
Yeah.
Well, before we get on to Requisition VR, which Rog and I have played, I don't know if Simplex has, but
I didn't.
No. So, but what have you been playing this past week or so?
Me?
Yes,
Yeah, I've been playing actually not much VR, but I did play one of the greatest VR games in existence, which is made by Polish developers, which is called In Death Unchained. This is made. So, did you play it at all?
I've played this on. I've not played the PC version or the Steam version or anything, but I played
which is worse.
Is it worse? Really?
It is worse.
So I've played the Quest version.
I've only played the PC one.
Okay, so Fluke, play the Quest one. Really, you'll be surprised because actually the PC version was made by Soflar Studios, right? The Icelandic developer, and they actually abandoned it. So it was never finished. But somehow the Polish dev Superbright from a city of Wrocław, they took, I don't know what kind of deal they had, but they actually made a full game of it. They increased it, they expanded it really a lot, and they added new biomes, you could say. They added a sort of tower defense thing when you just maybe not like a tower defense. But yeah, it's like a tower defense. You just if you're not into going around those structures and shooting, you can just stay in one place, and there are monsters trying to attack a gate and destroy it, and you have to shoot them down before they get to the gate. So it's. I
didn't know it had that at all. But am I noticing a Polish bias here, Simplex? Is that what's going on?
Well, it's not my fault that I'm Polish, and most of the good games are Polish. Superhot is Polish,
That's true. Yeah.
Really, I even talked to because I was on this. Let me go on a small tangent here. At the beginning of October, there was this event in Poland called PGA, which is called Poznań Game Arena. It's one of the biggest gaming-related events in Poland, and it had a component called GIC Game Industry Conference, which had also a VR component in it. And there were guys from Pico. They were Pico employees. And they told me that they were shocked that there are so many VR, developers and VR activity in Poland. They didn't expect that. Poland is really like a hotbed for VR.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it anyway. But yeah, I mean, In Death, the Unchained, the mobile version, I did play quite a bit of this. I think Anthony on VR 365, he used to really get into In Death. He seemed to go through a phase where he absolutely loved it, and
because he hated it originally.
Yeah.
Yes,
he hated it. Yeah, and then we convinced him.
And I think it was even the PC version, which is inferior at some points. But really, really great. The Quest version is amazing, and it's very hard. It's really hard because like a roguelite, right? You have to die multiple times, and I really don't like the fact that you have to really start from scratch every time. So that Siege of Heaven mode, that tower defense mode, is more casual, you could say. But it's really good, and it looks very nice on the Pico. So it was nice to return to it. Sadly, all my progress was not carried. I mean, I could probably ask the developers if it's possible somehow to transfer, but I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't possible because it's a different platform after all. But who knows? But yeah, I would like to thank them for providing me with the key for Pico. So I think if you ask them, if you ever get a Pico, I think if you even ask them to get a key for the Quest version, I think they would be accommodating because they're really great guys.
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, it's something we'll get into it. I was going to ask a few questions about how it looks and stuff on the Pico, but I think we'll save that for later when we get into your Pico talk. But yeah, that's great. So the other thing that we've been playing, well, Rog and I have been playing this week. We went into Requisition VR. We got a key from the developer for this game, and it's early access at the moment. So any impressions that we give will be sort of based on this early access version. But we went in. When did we go in? Earlier on, over the weekend, wasn't it?
Sometime Saturday, mate. I can't remember.
Yeah,
over the weekend.
But we went through the tutorial and then just jumped into, we did a little bit of the Horde mode and then the story mode. So for anybody who doesn't know, this is like a multiplayer co-op zombie kind of shooter. We've seen these before. I think there's been quite a few, but this is like almost a little bit like After the Fall. They're going for a similar kind of thing. But one of the unique selling points with Requisition VR is that they have this mechanic where you can, in terms of crafting, you can combine pretty much any two pieces of equipment that you want, anything that is interactable, you can combine together to create a new kind of weapon. And we'll get into that in a little bit more detail in a moment. But that's sort of what they are pushing in terms of the promotional material, because it is an interesting idea. But it's sort of like a Left 4 Dead kind of alternative in VR, similar to After the Fall. And so Rog, why don't you get into a few of your impressions with this one?
Yeah, definitely going for the Left 4 Dead style thing, I think. Like you say, it's an early access thing, and there was a level of jank, definitely. There was sometimes the way the characters moved or the way things ragdolled about, whatever. Although it's another one of these games where they're going for, like, trying to rely on sort of physics to sort of really sort of heighten the gameplay.
Although they don't have like a full like a inverse kinematic body. That's something it does have going for it. So
yes, that is absolutely a positive. I was going to say it's definitely nowhere near as frustrating as something like Boneworks or Bone Lab. It was. I don't know. I came away thinking, that was janky, and I'm not entirely sure. But I did think about it for a bit afterwards, and we did laugh about things while we were playing it. It wasn't bad. It was just early access. I think this is the issue, and it's hard to judge. Although again, it's something else that Anthony always used to say: is if you're charging money for your product, be prepared to reap the comments.
That's true. Yeah,
and also it's also hard to judge sometimes. If it's co-op, how much of the fun is actual the fact that you're playing with your friend and you're having fun because you're just two guys,
Exactly, yeah.
This is a massive point as well. I don't know how much I'd have played if it was just me by myself. I think I'd have lasted maybe 10 or 15 minutes. But then again, I think I might say that about any game of that style. It's not generally my kind of thing. This sort of survival mechanic style games. They don't generally speak to me very much, but having somebody else in there, it was funny at times. It definitely was.
I mean, I didn't have a bad time in there necessarily, and we were sort of just chatting as we were going through, because there wasn't some of the points as well. There were certain points where there wasn't a lot of challenge, but then it did. We died. I died very early on in the first one that we played, but. There is some challenge there as well, but early on you can probably get through it and just have a bit of a chat and relax while you're bashing zombies in the head.
Yeah, it's like, well, one of you's dead on the floor and the other one's running around like a maniac, weaponless, trying to find something to like fend everything else off and resurrect the other guy as well, and it sort of devolves into hilarity,
What did you go ahead, Simplex? Yeah,
I played Survive with two of my friends, and it was fun like that. And that was the Survive, the SURV1, V3, this weird, the game. It was also lots of junk, but it was fun. It was like a zombie shooter too. But I'm really interested in the mechanic of combining all those weapons. Does it really work? Is it like a gimmick, or is it a real like system seller?
At the moment, so here's the thing: like we discussed this, and I think on paper it's a really interesting idea. And I think if I worked in a dev team, I would think actually, that's really a really good idea what we've got there. And I think it's just at the moment it's not refined enough, because they simply don't really have any need to push you in that direction where you want to do this. There's a couple of things with it, like you just think there's a sledgehammer there, I might as well just use that. And I just think the mechanic of connecting these things together is interesting, but it's just not refined. They've got a good base for it, but I think they need to definitely work on their implementation of that at the moment.
Yeah, and it feels a bit, like I say, it feels a bit unnecessary. There was, at one point, I think, we found, didn't we, that like the shovel seemed to be the ultimate weapon. Once we got a shovel, we were fine.
Yeah.
I picked a samurai sword up at one point, and one of the sort of like the bigger zombies that comes along, I stood there hacking away at it, and I seemed to have zero effect, and it killed me. The next round, that thing appeared again. You wandered over with a shovel and pretty much one-shotted it.
Yeah.
It's like, why do I need to do anything else when I've got this overpowered shovel?
Well, that's the thing. It's just not quite refined enough. There's another thing as well. Like you've got this circular saw, which you can combine other weapons. Like you can stick an axe onto this circular saw. The problem is, and it's good, I just think they need to hone in some of these things. Because what I would love is if you combine an axe with a circular saw, the axe spins round as well, but it doesn't. It just stays still. The circular saw will still work, but really the axe is only there if you're just using melee. You can just whack things, and it might give you an increase in power than just whacking them with a circular saw. I don't know. I assume that's what it does. The other thing, like if it did spin round, if you did combine these really weird things together, then if it did spin round, then it'd pose a threat to you as well, because it could easily hit you as well. So there's all these interesting things I think they could do.
Yeah, it needs a reason for you to do it, and I think it's definitely the weapon balancing. Some of the individual objects are just good enough as they are, and it doesn't give you a reason to go around and scavenge all the other stuff. So there's definite game balancing issues that need sorting out. Yeah,
I think just the thing is that unique selling point of it, where they push that in the promotional material. I think it's a good idea, but it just in practice it doesn't work out that way. And beyond that, the problem is what they've got at the moment, at least. I'm not saying this will be the case going forward, but what they've got at the moment is almost like a slightly generic sort of Left 4 Dead clone, honestly.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. So what I would say is I think they've got a good foundation to build on this game, but it's, early access. So it is what it is at this moment in time.
Yeah, on the positive side, it's got the best physics ladders that I've seen in a game yet. I didn't really have too much of a trouble with them, and it sort of seemed to work better than the Half-Life 2 mod or Bone Lab, so thumbs up for that.
Yeah.
in terms of corpse physics, or like physics of all the items?
No, just being able to climb the damn thing.
Okay.
But in terms of physics as well, it's certainly not because we've mentioned on previous episodes of this podcast that Roger and I are not a big fan of Boneworks or Bone Lab because of the physics, but I do think that this implementation of physics, because you don't have the full body sort of connecting with things, and there's not as much, it doesn't feel quite as janky. There is still a level of jank there, but I actually do quite like having these interacting objects that you can do and sort of throw things to one side and use other objects to clear a space and stuff like that. I think there's definitely potential there as well. But I don't know. It's just I feel like they've released it a bit too early, maybe, for anyone to give a truly positive opinion on it.
Another plus point, though, it ran really well.
Oh yes, it did. Yeah,
performance-wise, I mean, I'm still on my old 1080 Ti, and I maxed out the visuals. I run it at 90 FPS, and I was recording 60 FPS video as well, and performance was solid.
Wow, I'm surprised. Does it look good? Like good enough?
It's what I would say is the need to push the level of details, the LODs out a bit further. You can see some sort of like higher res stuff kicking in quite close to you.
I don't like that.
Yeah, so that needs pushing out, but they seem to have the overhead to be able to do it, I think.
Yeah, I think it looked good enough, and that didn't really bother me too much, and the performance was great. I went in originally on my Valve Index, playing at 120 frames per second, no problems at all.
Wow.
Which is often not the case in early access
games can
especially.
Do that.
Yeah. I mean, you've got things like Hinge, for example. When that first launched, it was horrendous. It's like even the demo of Green Hell VR. Do you remember that on Steam? When they released a demo of that, that was like horrendous how bad it was in terms of performance. But this one, this was a bit of a surprise because I wasn't expecting it to be as good as it was.
Ironically, I think Hinge is by the same devs, right?
Is it? It might be, actually.
I think it is.
I don't know. But so maybe they're focused on performance this time.
Yeah, maybe they got a lot of hate. Yeah, Hinge is them. Yeah,
but definitely surprised with the performance, especially considering it's like a multiplayer game as well.
Because it has like 74% positive on Steam, so it's quite like mostly positive. So it must be doing something right.
Yeah. It's I think it'll be one to keep an eye on. If they can just improve on it and build upon it.
Yeah, I mean, for me as well, just closing off, I think that a lot of it just comes down to whether this is the kind of game that I would choose to necessarily put a lot of time into myself. And it's a difficult question. I like I say, I had a lot of fun. Like it certainly wasn't a bad experience when I went in there with Rog, but it's not something that I would ordinarily think of picking up or ordinarily think of spending time in. So a lot of people that would like this kind of game, of course, they'll probably gravitate more towards it, I suppose.
And does it have a story like at all, or?
Yeah, it's got a story mode. I think they are working on creating this and expanding this a lot more. At the moment, it's basically similar to the Horde mode, but you have individual tasks to do between the hordes. You have to rescue prisoners and things like that. So the story mode is a little bit bare bones, but this is something they've already mentioned. They already recognise this, and I think they do plan on building on that in the future.
Okay. Well, one thing I did learn though is if the world ever does sort of like end up in a zombie apocalypse, and you're working your way across the lands, stick Gary out front because he'll stumble across and set off every single booby trap there is before you get to it.
Yeah, I was. There was a lot of tripwires that blew me up. I just seemed to not see them at all. Although I had the shovel in my hand, so
yes.
I was still prepared for the zombies.
The big, very obvious red tripwires. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, whatever. Who cares? It's
at least now we know that the shovel is the best weapon for zombie apocalypse.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nice. You know, guys, I also played some games on my Steam Deck, and I know Gary has it, and I know that you sold it. So I love it. I love it myself, and I wanted to plug my friend's channel, which is called Great on Deck, just like this Valve's name for things that run good on it. And he actually does really good things because he prepares optimization guides. So he himself does research and he checks how to optimize some games. Sometimes it's even like you have to edit some config files, add some arcane commands to the files, to some kind of config files, and they help a lot with like stuttering or frame rate, improve performance. So if you want to check out, learn how some games can be how some games that run bad on Steam Deck can be improved. Even some of the games that are officially not supported, he can make them run. Yeah. So that's really interesting channel called Great on Deck. So I can recommend that.
Yeah, I'll check that out. I still play my Steam Deck a lot. Yeah. Honestly, I play it in bed. I like playing Steam Deck.
I play in bed too. That's what I do. Like, and I even swapped a fan. I actually have a funny story. I even recorded the video on my channel because my friend ordered a deck, and because I had this fan, this whiny one, this bad one. Right. I hate it. And my wife was actually being woken up by it, so she forbade me to play in bed, which I understand. and my friend, he had a pre-order, but he resigned. Like he wanted to cancel it, but I told him, well, just give it to me. I paid him for the pre-order. He changed the address, and I gambled. And his deck had the good fan, the whining fan, but it had a backlight bleeding on the screen. Like if your screen is completely dark, if it's black and doesn't display any graphics, then you can see that it has like those white spots, on the edges.
Yes. Yeah.
So I just wanted to take his deck and sell mine, but then I just figured out I can swap the fans, and I did it, and I swapped the fans, and I had some adventures. At one point, the battery got disconnected, and my deck would just only work when it was connected to the power source. It didn't even. Yeah, but I had some. I had some funny. Yeah.
There's been a few different things. So in terms of Steam Deck. Sorry, just a quick tangent on this as well, because there's in terms of like the fan. So a lot of the early ones, they had this whiny fan thing. So I was really, when I got mine, I wanted to listen out for this, and mine doesn't. I don't think it doesn't sound loud. I don't notice it. So I assume I've got one of the good fans. And also the light bleed was, as you mentioned, that was another thing that a lot of people were mentioning. The only thing I've had recently is battery issues. So it will go from something like 70% all the way down to about 5%. Like it will last for a long time, like a couple of hours, and then all of a sudden it will still be on 60% and then go all the way down to 5% within about 10 minutes. So I think this is like a recalibration issue that I need to get into as well. But that's
maybe you can send it to to Valve.
Yeah, I know. I've thought about this. There's a lot of guides though. I think people have had this issue and managed to resolve it. So I'm sort of following a few guides on getting that.
Do you know that you can now actually check what kind of fan you have without opening the deck?
No, I didn't know.
There's a page. There's a kind of page on your account. I don't remember the URL exactly, but you can find it on the internet. It just shows you all the parts that are inside. Their serial numbers, their names, manufacturer. You can check every part you have, on the website. That's very Valve, right? I think
Yes, yeah,
that's very Valve.
No, that's good. Yeah, I'll check that out.
It shows, it shows my old fan. It shows my old whiny fan because they don't know that I swapped it, right? So this is funny, but
you wouldn't be able to mistake that, would you? Like if you had a non-whiny fan, you wouldn't be able to mistake it for.
I mean, you'd have to be really tolerant of a high, of a high-pitched sound.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
You'd immediately, you would really know. I mean, so
you sold yours, didn't you? You sold yours, didn't you, Rog? Anyway,
yeah. It's just I didn't really think there's anything wrong with it. It was just I didn't have a case use for it. It's just like it was a pointless piece of hardware. It was a new toy, and then it was like I don't need this. I really don't. I must admit I wasn't that impressed with the screen. And I think John Lineman on Digital Foundry, he said something similar a month or two after, where he described it as the colours being a bit flat, and I think I agreed with that. I'm not normally picky when it comes to colour reproduction and things. I'm not bothered of the brightness levels of like a Quest versus a Rift versus an Index versus a whatever. None of it bothers me. Yeah. But with the Steam Deck, I looked at it, I thought, I don't know, there was just something about it. Although saying that, I had been using my Vita, my old PlayStation Vita. I'd got that out and charged it up a few weeks before, and maybe it was that OLED screen contrasting to the contrasting to the Steam Deck. Yeah.
I don't think it's got the absolute best screen or anything like that in the Steam Deck, but I can't say that I'm really noticed it being particularly bad overall, to be honest. But if you're comparing it to an OLED, I suppose
maybe even there's some kind of distribution of quality. Like you might have gotten the worst one. No.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. But mind you, the people have been saying that about. I don't know if you've seen it about the Quest Pro. There seems to be an idea going around that there's different suppliers, and depending on what panel you get, it might influence your decision as to whether it looks good in the headset or not. Apparently, some guy bought two from, I don't know if it was Amazon or wherever, and they were apparently quite different. So maybe that's why. I
did see that, and also there was just mentioning light bleed as well. Some people have started to come out and say that there is some light bleed on some of these units as well with the Quest Pro, and they've posted sort of pictures of it and stuff. So, I'm still yet to try one, but I'm hopeful that I'll get a demo. Have you tried a Quest Pro yet, Simplex?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, did you manage to get a demo of a Quest Pro?
No, I'm in Poland. No one got no chance. I even thought about ordering it and returning it in the 30 day window, but I thought bad karma. Anthony would not approve.
He wouldn't.
I'll be honest, I've considered that as well myself, but I'm still holding out. I think I'm going to try and find a demo at some point.
You know what I'm really afraid of? That the bad karma will get to me. And for example, I will drop it and break it, and then I will not be able to send it back because it will be broken. And I cannot afford that. It's too expensive, really.
Yes, I know.
There's a very good review on Road to VR of a Quest Pro. I don't know if you read it. It's unfinished. Like it just doesn't have software. It doesn't have use case. Like why did they release it?
Yeah. So, it does seem like it's the kind of thing that they'll just improve over time and get the things out there. It does seem like it's been released a year too early, and
exactly.
Maybe if they'd held off a year, they could have put the better processor in there as well. Mm-hmm. But we'll see how that goes and how it improves over time. And also, just quickly, actually, because this isn't like a main news story or anything, but there was sort of confirmation from Zuckerberg that the Quest 3 will be released next year. I don't think we covered this in the last show, but
I think he basically confirmed Bradley's leak, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
in Bradley we trust. Yes,
exactly.
That's it.
Okay, well, we should probably get onto a couple of these other news stories. It has been a quiet news week, but there are things that we wanted to get into. The first thing we can talk about is these Quest app trials. So this is something new. Did they announce this at the Connect? Because I know it was around then anyway, but they've started to appear on the store. And these are just trials, sort of 15 to 30-minute trials for various apps and games on the Quest store that users can just try for a while before they choose to purchase, which is obviously, a great thing. I don't think anybody's going to complain about this, really. And just a few of the titles that it seems to be on at the moment. I went onto the Quest store earlier just to check some of these out. So some of the big ones that jumped out to me were like Pixel Ripped 1995, The Climb 2, Knock, Stride, Hyperdash, Mother Gunship Forge, and Pistol Whip. These are all sort of.
And you have Ven there, and of course, it's a Polish game.
Oh, Ven it is as well, is it? Yeah, I've played Ven a little bit. I got early access to Ven, and I played that. That is a good game that you don't hear too many people talk about now.
True.
Actually, yeah.
True. It's a bit. It's like a sort of. What's the word? Unappreciated gem, like underappreciated. Yeah, I think guys from Virtual Strangers love it. I think they really plugged it, as I remember. Virtual Strangers, I think they loved it.
I've never got around to checking that one out. I did see quite a few people mention that it's quite difficult, so I don't know whether it is or not. But
I heard that they actually nerfed it. They were like they got so many requests that they nerfed it, supposedly.
And when I played it, it was like the first level that I played all the way, because the levels are quite long as well. They take a long time to get through. Yeah. And it's pretty tough, but it's, it's not up to the level of Astrobot or anything like that, but it's still a pretty solid game, honestly, of that type.
Yeah, no platform was up to the level of Astrobot.
Oh my God.
I was talking about this on Discord earlier.
Do you think Sony is working on the the second part that will release on PS VR2? They must be. I mean, they'd be crazy not to, right?
I want Astrobot 2 more than anything else.
Yes, I do as well. Yeah,
me too. So we're all in agreement.
Yeah.
But so Rog, what do you think of these trials? Did you try any of these so far?
No, I've not been on to take a look, in all honesty. Good news all around, though, really. It's nothing to complain about at all.
Yeah. No one's going to complain about this, are the Simplex, really? No. It's,
Of course, it's great. It's great that they do this. It should. It's something that should have been there from the start, right? Basically.
Yeah. I think rather than... Go ahead.
Sorry, I was saying, do you think Meta's having this a big push in trying to sell content? Because we've got this on the back of the referral codes as well. It's as if they're really trying to push software sales. Maybe because they're losing so much money from their investors and everything.
Oh, and I see there's also Jupitergrad, which is another great Polish game.
We've definitely got a Polish bias going on here. I don't know.
Of course, I mean, that's why I'm here. Like, that's why I came here, right?
You're here to push.
Represent.
Represent, exactly.
I am going to try a couple of these, I think, because I've not played The Climb 2. So that's on there.
I played it a bit. Did you play Jupitergrad?
No, I've not yet. No,
it's great. It's really good.
Yeah, that is one actually. When it's been on sales and stuff, because I watched a lot of reviews when that first came out. It does look like a good game. So yeah, maybe I'll give that one a try. What else is on here?
Yeah, it's short but sweet, and you use plungers, like toilet plungers, to move around.
Yeah, is it because it's like a swinging kind of mechanic as well, isn't it?
But you don't get sick from it. They also mastered that. I don't know how they did it, but it's like that game Swarm. Remember?
Yes,
yeah. So it's stuff like that. You swing and you don't get sick.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll give it a try. Why not? Got 15 to 30 minutes anyway in there, so I might as well. But just quickly to wrap this up. Because after the trial ends, you can purchase the title, of course, if you want to do that. But also, any progress you've made up to that point will be carried over as well. So it's all they're doing it in the right way. Seems like they're doing it in the right way.
Nice. I might have to have a look at Ven finally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You'll get you probably won't even get through the first level in the first 15 minutes, 30 minutes. Honestly, it's well, at least unless they changed it, I don't know. But
I think they did. I think they did something. Maybe it's optional. Because I remember that Virtual Strangers guys, they're like old school, and they were very happy about this difficulty.
Yeah,
they were really mad that the devs would yield to the casuals, filthy casuals.
Yeah, I'm all up for that though.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Just make it an optional. No, I mean, I can understand their stance. That's making an option.
Yeah. Oh, Yuki's on there as well. I've never played that.
Me neither. It's also supposedly hard, right?
I don't know. I have no idea.
there is a few on it. There are more, by the way, on this list that I put down here on the show doc. There are plenty more. There's just some that
I think Yuki was made by the developers of Pixel Ripped, or am I wrong?
No, it was.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. So go on there and try some of those out if you didn't know about that, because it's worth doing. I did want to touch on the Lynx R1. So it seems like Simplex. I didn't know you had backed this actually, but So I've backed it as well. And did you back the version with the controllers or just the headset?
I'm not sure. I have to check. I think I did, because they were quite cheap. They were like $100 or something. I think it was quite profitable to do this.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was about that.
But now that they announced that they may make them compatible with Steam VR controllers, I'm starting to wonder if it was a good choice.
Yeah, well, so basically what it was, there was an update last week on the Lynx website. I didn't actually know about this, but shout out to Artful in the Rendered Reality Discord. And, I see Artful on all these different chats in various podcasts as well on YouTube, on VR-related podcasts. So he's always around, but he actually pointed this out. I didn't see this because I'm a Kickstarter backer, but I didn't get sent an email about this update. Usually you get sent updates through that. But yeah, this was posted directly on their website. So just to go through a couple of the little highlights on this update. So there is another slight delay on these units going out to Kickstarter backers. So the first units will arrive in Europe in early December now. Originally, I think after the last delay, it was November. But now it's going to be December, and this is due to customs delays, and they will be shipped out non-certified straight away if you want them. Now, this certification is a compliance certification, so it's sort of CE in Europe and the FCC in the US. And so basically, in order to get this certification, it has to go through testing to make sure it's safety testing and things like that. But if you want to take this unit straight away, then you have to sign a backer consent form, and then they'll ship it out to you in December, wherever you are, in the world. But if you want to wait for that compliance certification, then you have to wait till February 2023 for the first batch for Kickstarter backers. And if you've pre-ordered it, you didn't back it on Kickstarter, but you pre-ordered it, then you'll get your first batch in February 2023 as well. So there is a delay there, which is a little bit disappointing. And also this compliance certification is a little bit disappointing as well. But, I'm going to take the headset without that. I want it as soon as possible just to give it a try. What do you think about that? I think
it's a formality, right? The certification.
Yeah. Yeah, you would imagine so, yes. Yeah, I don't see any issues with that at all. But also, Stan did confirm a price increase, which I think he's previously confirmed this on one of his live streams anyway. But this is not really surprising. However, Kickstarter backers and pre-orders won't be affected by this price increase, of course, but any future purchases of the headset will be increased in cost. We don't know exactly how much yet, but this is due to component rise worldwide, and we've seen this from Sony and Meta as well with their headsets and technology. So it's not really a surprise, that part of it. The thing which was a little bit more of a surprise to me, and maybe it's because I've not been following it quite so closely, is the controller situation. So these will be available now around Q3 2023. So you're going to have to wait just under a year, it seems, for anybody that has backed the controllers to get hold of them. And I did just want to quickly point out this comment on this update on their website. It just stood out as being slightly interesting to me with the controllers, and it's something they've already mentioned before numerous times, but they said, quote, "We would like to reiterate that the headset has been designed with hand tracking as the primary input method. Thus, most users won't be affected. For those that really need the controllers, we're working on a compatibility system with Steam VR controllers that will require Steam VR base stations for Steam VR games and apps." So, I think they're reiterating this pose. This is really designed as a hand-tracked based headset, which they have said all along. One of the things I just wanted to quickly get into with regards to this, from my point of view, I feel like when they first pivoted, because when this headset was first announced back, a few years ago now, it was initially going to be a business headset, an enterprise-based headset. When they removed certain features and sort of relaunched it, I believe in early 2021, or re-announced it, it was more of a consumer-focused launch because the price had come down a lot. And then it felt to me like there was a pressure for them to say that this is a Quest 2 competitor. I don't know if they've ever directly said that, honestly, but there was a pressure and a build-up, and there seemed to be a narrative around this where it was pitched as a Quest 2 competitor. And by that, it needs controllers. And I feel in some ways that they brought this on themselves, but they were also pushed into this in some ways. And I think they need to just play into their strengths with this headset rather than try to position it as a Quest 2 competitor. I don't know if you've got any thoughts on that, Simplex, or anything that I've mentioned so far.
I mean, I'm on one hand, I'm happy that they announced the Steam VR compatibility, because I have base stations, I have index controllers, so I just hope that they will allow me to cancel the controllers and like refund me the €100 that I paid extra, because especially if they were delayed, right? The controllers were delayed to the end of 2023, so in a year. So in a year, everything can happen. So I hope that they will be accommodating to that. And I'm also a bit disappointed because the last update on the Kickstarter page, so somewhere where you would expect you have the backers who paid, and you would expect them to expect you to update it. It's from August.
Yes, yeah.
So I don't get it. Why would they make such a important announcement and completely ignore the Kickstarter outlet, as a place of updating it? I don't get it.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I did want to quickly mention on these controllers, because originally the plan was to use Finch controllers, which are a separate company. Finch, they've actually pivoted. I went onto their website a few days ago, actually. They have these controllers originally that Lynx were looking into, where they are 6 degrees of freedom controllers, but the actual controllers themselves they only have IMUs, so they only have sort of rotational movement sensors. Then you wear these bands, it seems, on your arms. Originally, I'm talking about the Finch controllers, not necessarily the Lynx R1 implementation of them, but they had these bands in order to give 6 degrees of freedom. Now, what Lynx were going to do is actually use the IMUs with these original Finch controllers, then utilize the hand tracking capability of the Lynx R1 in order to do positional movement for 6 degrees. Now, I don't know. To me, when I thought about that, they know a lot more about this. They've tested it, and they've obviously used this a lot more than I've ever used anything like this. But just thinking about that, you have like this inherent delay, even with the ultra leap hand tracking. There is still a slight delay in terms of movement. It will never be one-to-one in the way that the Quest 2 controllers are one-to-one. So I've always felt a little bit like the controllers were an afterthought. They were trying to get them to work. There was no clear path for them to do that, and this seems to have more or less confirmed that, honestly.
But I checked Finch website, and they are now, advertising a controller which looks a bit like touch controller, and it's 6DOF. It's IR LED.
That's
so
right.
It's Steam VR compatible, so they are not using that. So what are they using?
Well, originally they were. See, Finch themselves have pivoted. They originally had these controllers which were like this, but then they seem to have pivoted and gone over to these Quest 2 controller style with the tracking ring in exactly the same way as a Quest 2. So I don't know if this redesign that Lynx are talking about is because that they are now utilizing that tracking ring and still using Finch controllers. I'm not sure whether that's part of it or not, because those controllers on the Finch website do seem like they're readily available to purchase. So I don't know if they're still collaborating with Finch or if they've gone in a completely different direction.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. Can you buy them? They are showing a reference design, and that's all I can see there. So I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. Well, I think a lot of it comes down to the information that people are going to get for like the Kickstarter backers of the controller-based headset, because the backers of the controllers, because a lot of people, well, maybe not a lot of people, but some people will have picked this headset up as a viable alternative to a Quest 2, which to me just doesn't seem like a great choice, honestly. At least at this point, and maybe they can prove us all wrong with these new controllers and this redesign. I think as a Steam VR connected headset, if it had perfect controller tracking and that kind of stuff, it's a great utility for it. But I just feel like they need to, as a company, they seem to be pushed into this corner, or they've pushed themselves into this corner where they're not utilising, they're not taking advantage of the actual advancements of this headset. It's a Quest Pro. You know, the Quest Pro itself doesn't take advantage of some of the functionality that headset has. So they've got a real opportunity, and I want Lynx to... Honestly, Lynx have got a real opportunity at this point in time because there are problems with the pass-through in terms of quality on the Quest Pro. The Lynx R1 doesn't suffer from those quality issues in the same way. The pass-through on the Lynx R1 is pretty good. You know, it's not perfect, it's not crystal clear, but by all accounts, it's a lot better than it is on the Quest Pro. So
it's crazy.
Yes, and that's why they've got a real opportunity to take advantage of that side of things. And I think that it was a mistake all along to try to make it a Quest 2 competitor.
Yeah, I agree with you, Gary. And you know what I think? I think that they did it in a moment where people hated Facebook for forcing, the logging into Facebook to use Quest 2. And people were desperately looking for an alternative. And now that you no longer have to do this, maybe the pressure on Lynx is not, as high as it used to be. That they won't be looked at as the savior who will save us from Facebook that requires Facebook login. Now that the Facebook is not requiring the Facebook login, they can just go back to what they originally wanted to do. Hopefully, that's
it makes sense.
But the controller thing is really, really strange, and I hope someone asks. Maybe Stanley Rock remembers you. Maybe if you write him and ask about the controllers and about the whole situation, maybe he will be able to explain it, because I'm really now confused to what controllers will I be getting, in a year.
Yeah, I think there's definitely, they need to clarify some of that information at the moment to the backers that got those, because I think the controllers can play a key part to some people. Of course, they've got to really fulfill that part just as much as they do with the headset itself.
Yeah, and they really should allow backers to cancel just the controllers. I think.
Yeah, that will make sense. Yeah. Okay. Rog, I don't know if you've got any thoughts on the Lynx R1. I know you didn't back it, so...
No, not really. Other than I was hoping you would end up with it in November so that, you could bring it down to the RCM in December.
Yeah, that's true.
When we have a meetup. And using that as a quick segue to put this in here, if anybody wants to meet up with us on the 3rd of December in Leicester at the Retro Computer Museum, tickets for that event are now on sale. 12 quid a piece.
Oh.
Get your tickets, come down and meet up. I've literally just checked 5 minutes ago.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I'll go and get my ticket after this then. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, so that's the 3rd of December in Leicester, the Retro Computer Museum. You can Google that and it'll come up. And
just go on to retrocomputermuseum.co.uk, go onto the schedule, 3rd of December, Legendary Gathering. That's the one.
Hopefully going to meet up with Paradise Decay there again, and Dazed Netic as well. They were there last time, and it's just a great day. If you're into your retro stuff, check it out.
Cool.
Okay.
If I'm in England at that time, I'll definitely go there. I probably won't.
Well, yeah, you might as well just come across. It's 3rd of December. We'd love to see you there.
Yeah, I'd love to meet you guys too. We'll see.
Yeah. Okay, just quickly on this next little section, I did just want to mention that I might be selling my Index now. I don't really know why I'm telling anyone this, other than to really mention the fact that, because a lot of the stuff that I've done on my channel over the past couple of years has really been focused around my Index kind of content. Most of the stuff I've done has been Index, so it makes sense that I just mentioned that I will probably be selling it. I'm still a little bit hesitant. I've not actually packaged it away yet or listed it or anything. So I'm still not 100% on it. But the reason I'm doing this, is because I was hopeful to get an early loan review unit of the Pimax Crystal. I've been in contact with Pimax for a few months since I got the 8KX to review. I got a loan version of that as well. I had to send it back, and I was hoping to do the same for the Pimax Crystal. But It doesn't seem like I'm in the first batch of people that will be getting it, which, understandable. I'm a very small channel, so I'm probably low on the priority list. So, yeah, there's no hard feelings about that at all. But it does sort of make me think that I don't necessarily need to keep my base stations or my index controllers now, because I'm not imminently going to be getting a Pimax Crystal to review. So there's a lot of money tied up in the index at the moment. You can still get a decent price for it if you sell it on eBay, and that money will go towards something else. There's a lot of headsets coming out at the moment, and I don't know what I'll pick up. Probably, well, at the moment I'm thinking PS VR2. The money will probably go towards that. But I just wanted to make people aware that I probably won't be covering any index stuff on the channel or talking about that kind of stuff after maybe a couple of weeks or so, something like that.
But Gary, now that you learned that Lynx may use,
VR
tracking, doesn't it change your mind?
Well, I want the Lynx mainly for the mixed reality, the standalone mixed reality stuff. That is why I picked it up in the first place anyway. Okay. I mean, don't get me wrong, I would love to try it with the Steam VR tracking, but there's just too much money held up in my Valve Index that I feel like I could position that somewhere else. And maybe I'll hold off. Yeah, you're probably right, actually, Simplex. Maybe I should hold off a few more weeks until I get my Lynx.
Until they delay it again, then you can sell it.
Well, I'm fully prepared. I won't get my Lynx till next year. I don't think I'll get it till January or so.
I really like my Index. I I'm attached to it.
Yeah. Is it?
Yeah.
No, I was going to say, because to this day, like even now, I'll put the Index on. It's still probably my favorite headset overall over all the ones that I've used. It's still my favorite, and it definitely shows its age. Like the resolution is not quite up there anymore, but it's still a great headset. Roger is cringing right now. But...
Why?
Oh, so badly. Valve have still yet to make some hardware that I actually want to keep.
Oh, yeah. So you have your...
I'm getting a load of hate for that.
Well, so you didn't like the Index?
I got an Index on launch day, used it, thought I've spent $1,000 on this and sent it back. The only mistake I made was I didn't put it on eBay and profit from it. Honestly, what? There was I've gone over this too many times, but the controllers for my hands personally were the most uncomfortable things I've ever used. They were terrible for my hands. The headset, I didn't like the weight or the fit of it. I had the problem with the initial sort of stick click, where it'd click on one, it wouldn't on another, but only if you moved it in some directions.
Famous.
Yeah, and so contacted Valve, and I got that initial response of that it was designed that way, and it's like, no, it wasn't. It was never designed that way, and that just wound me up so much. The base stations as well. I was never aware. I never had a Vive. I didn't know they made a noise, and my hearing is horrifically attuned to high pitched noises. It's really bad, and
I even heard that the new ones, the 2.0 ones, are even worse than the old ones.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. No, I literally couldn't stand having the base stations turned on.
I can totally get you.
Yeah, I can understand that, and also just quickly, like the Valve Index is a headset. I think is the best overall I've used. But the controllers, the controllers are not.
They're bad.
I'm fully with you on that. I don't think the controllers are what they were all cracked up to be at all. Touch controllers are still the best for me.
I agree. I wish I really wish that the Vive ones would have an analog stick. I'd be down with that.
Yeah. Even then, I don't know. I had issues with those anyway. I liked them originally, but as soon as I'd used touch, that was it. They were so much better.
You probably agree that the first touches from the original Rift were the best, right?
Oh yes, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, the balancing and everything though, it just felt so much better, and they felt solid as well.
Yeah, you could hit the wall with them, and it would destroy the wall.
I mean, you would break bones in your hand before you broke an original CB1 controller.
Yeah, totally. Oh, good times.
Yeah. Okay. So Index will probably be sold, but maybe I'll change my mind. Maybe I'll delay it a few more weeks. We'll see. But finally, we should probably get on to some interesting stuff with Simplex in terms of your Pico 4, sorry, not Pico 5. Don't get too excited, everyone. Pico 4.
That's next week.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this. Why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah, I got my Pico. I bought it in Bestware shop, and I got it quite quickly. And it was interesting because I learned that there may be some delays because Pico even announced that they like run out of the Picos, and because they didn't expect such a huge demand. And I called the store, and they told me that the shortage only affects the 256 gigabyte model, which I wasn't buying anyway because I was planning mostly to use it to connect it to the PC. So yeah, I got it fast, and the first thing I noticed, which was really, really weird, and I don't really remember any reviewers stressing that disadvantage, was huge, horrible light leakage on the sides. The light would go through. I was used to having a light leakage from like the nose gap, right? That's happens.
Yeah.
But it comes from the sides of your head, like from your ears, And what happens is you see two crescent-shaped reflections of light on the sides of the lens. And that's not even the worst part, because I have like point lights. I have like LED tubes, on my ceiling, and they are quite bright. So when I was moving my head, I was seeing different, like strange sort of bursts of light on the lenses, and it turns out that these point lights, they reflect. So if I just moved my head very, very slowly, I could get to a point when this point light would reflect in the lens, and I would just see it. I would like sit in the mirror. I could literally see the lamp reflecting in the.
Oh man!
That's crazy.
Yeah, I've not heard that.
Yeah. So if you play like in the daylight, or if you have like some kind of, I don't know, one big lamp at the top, just one lamp. I have six LED tubes, on my ceiling. So maybe my use case is very weird, very specific. But really, it was madness. I just had to like, if I held my hands, and just like squeezed it, then the light would stop, leaking through. But really, I really read some, reviews. I watched some YouTubers, and I really didn't, see that they would say about this. And then that's what really got me. After I bought it, after a few days, Sebastian made a video how to get of light leakage from the sides from your Pico 4. Like what?
Right,
now you're telling me?
Did Sebastian not mention it in his review or anything? Or
I don't know. I don't want to, put shade on him because I love Sebastian, and I was a guest on MRTV a few times, and you were also too. So
yeah, because I think I watched that. I watched that review of the Pico 4. I'm pretty sure I watched it from start to finish, but I can't remember every aspect of it. So yeah,
me too. I don't want to just say something that's not true. And maybe he, even if he didn't say it, maybe he just used it during the day, and he didn't notice, or he had like a huge lamp, very high ceiling. If you have like a high ceiling, perhaps it won't get caught in the reflection. I'm sure he didn't do it on purpose,
Yeah. So
the thing is when.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say the thing is as well, when you're making reviews on certain things, there's certain things that do get through the cracks, isn't there? You just think, oh, I should have probably mentioned that, but you don't. So I don't know if you did it or not, but if you didn't, you can't really blame him too much. But yeah.
But yeah, so it sounds like the interface isn't really forming to your face very well then. If it's leaving like,
But, I've used really, like, you heard my story. You heard how many headsets I had, right? Or used.
Yeah.
None of them ever had this problem.
Yeah.
Like, never. That's why at first I didn't even know what's happening. I thought that the lenses are broken, because like it would never occur to me that it could leak from this direction,
So what is the tip to stop it from happening?
I'll tell you. Do you remember when Facebook had this toxic foam, right? And they would send you a cover.
Toxic foam, yeah.
So if you actually put this cover on, on the, just put it on.
Oh, right.
Like, on Pico, it fixes it.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't fit perfectly. So I had it. So props to Sebastian for this tip. And so that's how it works. So that was the thing that really like got me at first.
Okay.
But now I put it on, but I think I'm it's magnetic, so I'm sure that VR Cover and or others, Kiwi and other manufacturers will start probably producing
yes, definitely,
replacements.
yeah.
But still, you'll have to buy it, so it's like not so great. That's really weird.
Mind you, I think most of us nowadays sort of factor in a VR cover as part of the cost of buying a new headset. It's almost like a standard, isn't it?
But that was one of the advantages you'd think of Pico, that you don't have to buy anything because it already has like this elite battery strap built in, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so that was, and also the comfort. I mean, it's good, but it's not as good as I would think. I have some kind of pressure points on my head, and Pico like touches them, like you have to move it around and just to have it really comfortable. But it is light and it is well balanced. So
how would you compare it to the Quest 2 though? Because that would be probably like a good comparison. Does the Quest 2 bother you more than the Pico 4 or?
Yeah, it's heavier and it's more front heavy. I mean, obviously the Quest 2 with the elastic strap is like it's the worst, right? So that's horrible. Yeah. But I've been using Franken-Quest for a long time, so it's hard to me to make a comparison to an unmodded Quest because I've had the Deluxe audio strap on my Vive, so I attached it to the Quest 2, and so that's a great solution, of course. Franken-Quest for the win. But yeah, it's definitely ways better than the original Quest, and I think it's fair to make this comparison because Quest comes in with the elastic strap by default, and Pico comes in with this rigid strap with a battery by default, and it's even cheaper. It's even cheaper than Quest 2. So it's much better. But maybe I just had too high expectations. I thought, well, it must be amazing. It's like pancake legs, and it's so light, it's so small. It's so balanced. It's good,
that's what I was thinking as well. It would be like so much better than the because I use either like the Bobo VR on the Quest 2 or the Elite, the official strap with the battery.
The one that breaks, right?
Yeah, I've had mine since launch though. It's not broke yet, so it will do. I know it will do one day, but I've been lucky.
Yeah,
when you least expect it.
Yeah,
it's not be all and all, but it's much better. That I will admit. And that it is much better. And did you know actually that Quest 2 was discounted for a few weeks?
No.
Yeah, it was discounted to like 394 euros in Europe for at least 2 or 3 weeks, just around the Pico 4 launch.
Oh, really? Oh, no, I did not know that. No,
it was. Yeah, that's funny.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I think they just finished the discount, but it was. Okay, so what else can I say? There is no equivalent. Yeah.
Go ahead. I was going to say because I'm just looking down this list of the bullet points that you made down here. There are a few things that I've not seen mentioned before because you mentioned about the. Well, actually, the next one on the list is the no equivalent to first steps. Or see, this is the thing. So, like on the Quest 2, you've got this software platform, which although was a little bit bare bones when it was first released, you did have applications to get new people into VR pretty quickly with first steps and applications like that.
First
Bogo.
Contact, the robot, right?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So you did have that, but Pico doesn't have an equivalent of that at the moment.
And that's crazy.
Yes.
The first thing I do whenever I demo Quest to people, I show them first steps, right?
Yes.
It's like it's a no-brainer. They just learn by themselves. And first steps. It even has the voiceover in Polish. They recorded actually voiceover in Polish, which really surprised me a lot.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, and the Bogo kids love Bogo, of course.
Well, so first steps is a VR experience. Like my daughter will still play that just occasionally. Anyway, she's like a VR expert.
The robot.
Where you're dancing, the dancing.
Exactly. Yeah. That's amazing. They have the shooting for the boys, you could say, and they have the robot for the girls, like.
It is a fantastic thing, though, in there. That robot. Everybody talks about that robot where you're dancing with the robot, yeah.
Exactly. And, Pico already ripped off so many things from, from Meta. Why didn't they rip this off? It's crazy. They didn't, I think they should never release this headset without it. I think it's a big mistake on their part.
Yeah, yeah.
The UI, UI is bare bones too. Like I didn't find a place where it notifies you about the downloads. The state of the download. You have to go to the store and to the specific game to see if it's downloading.
Right. Okay.
So, the library. I mean, maybe I expected it to be more like Quest, and I'm not used to it. But I think that this library really is weird. There's no filter for games, but I think it's called entertainment or something like that.
Okay.
Or there are some weird translations issues where it tells you to like start play, start play,
Yeah.
That's not English.
Start play.
Even I know that, and I'm not English. And then you cannot redeem, at least I didn't find a place to redeem a code via web browser. And you can do it easily. I don't think they have this sort of like a control center, where you have when you can check your purchase history, check your payment methods. I don't think they have it like in the web. And it's also not possible to redeem a key inside the headset. I'm not sure if it's doable in the Quest 2. Maybe not.
And I don't think it is. I've never done that, and I've never found a place to do it. It could be that I've missed it, but as far as I know, you can only do that through the mobile app.
And ironically, I wasn't able to find out by myself without Googling how to redeem a key because I didn't install the Pico app because it's not needed to activate the goggles. So I think it's fine. It's good because Meta requires you to do this, and they don't. But you can only redeem the key through the app, through the Android app. That's the only place. I mean, if someone listens to us and knows it's not true, then just let us know. But I didn't find any other place, so that was surprising. And for the UI, they have lots of interesting 360 movies, which are quite good quality because 360 movies are usually really bad, right? We know this, but they are quite good. I mean, I was surprised. I would expect them to be worse because there's 360. They have like. Santorini, the island, Santorini, the Greek island. It's very nice. They have like the drone flyover. They have some kind of sharks. There's this huge shark called whale shark, the biggest shark in existence, which is very, very docile because it feeds on plankton. But you can see it. And I'm not even sure if those movies are 3D. Maybe they're just 360 flat. But what I was wanted to say is that you can see them on the list of like recommended for you or like something like that, but you cannot add them to favorites to come back to them later, or you cannot you don't have the history. Either you just come across them by accident, or you just can. I was not able to find them later. Like if I wanted to, I just had to count on my luck.
What does the 360? Because you said that they look good. Are they sort of higher resolution than you're usually used to?
Yeah. I think so. Maybe I didn't, watch a 360 movie for a long time, but there's no compression. There's no macro blocks. Maybe it's not very high resolution, but at least the quality of the video is good. It's not like compressed. It's not like like soap.
Yeah, and you were streaming those, were you?
I think they're streamed. Yeah, I think they're streamed. So that was actually quite good.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's good.
So those were most of bad things. Now for the good things.
Yes.
Because it's not all bad, believe me. It's so the audio is really good. I think I can say if it's better than the Quest because I've been using the Franken Quest, so I've been used to the audio from the deluxe audio strap. But I think that the audio is serviceable, and that's actually I think they had to do good audio because you cannot change the strap, so it's hard to make an alternative. Especially since they don't have the jack. That's one of the downsides. No jack.
Yeah.
So you need some kind of adapter, for example, or to connect a jack. And
so
then
it just goes through the USB-C, does it? If you want to connect.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can either use some kind of headphones that have a USB-C native connection, or you can just use an adapter. There are adapters you can buy. They were used to phones, like when phones lost the jack. It supposedly works. I didn't check it because I think the audio is good enough. It's serviceable. I already said that the balance is good and the headset is really light. You don't feel it that much on your head, which is good. And because the pancake lenses do their job, And the FOV is also wider. Maybe it's not like it's not index. That's what I love my index for.
Yes,
you can say many things, about index that are not good, but the FOV, both horizontal and vertical, I think it's the best, except Pimax. I think Valve made the best compromise with FOV because it's good enough, it's wide enough that it's noticeable, but it doesn't distort the picture.
Yeah, there's no edge distortion on the index. Yeah, it's a big deal.
And it's crazy that during 3 years the Valve index is 3.5 years now, right?
Yes,
and no other manufacturer except Pimax, which has its downsides, came up with a comparable FOV.
Yeah, we've mentioned this before as well. It just doesn't seem a priority to Meta, at least. And
they said even.
And a lot of other manufacturers are just following Meta's lead, I suppose.
Oh, the problem with Meta or Oculus in the past is ever since the DK1, they've only ever really gone down with their FOVs.
So the DK1 had crazy hype for.
The Pro seems to be the first one where they've actually taken a slight step up.
Mm-hmm. It's such a weird thing, isn't it? Because it's something that so many people complain about, but for whatever reason, they don't see it as a priority. Or maybe it's a balancing act in terms of like how much R&D they'd need to put into getting a truly wide field of view with the limitations that they put on themselves, where it will never distort. There will be no distortion whatsoever, because you can bet your life that if they do put out a wide field of view headset, they are not going to want any distortion at all for fear of people getting sick and that kind of stuff. So I think there's just compromise on that level, but I'm sure they've got these. I mean, I think there's been prototypes where they've had these wider field of view headsets as well, but they're just not ready for prime time yet.
The dome, didn't they show the dome, half dome? Yeah, like years ago.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was 140. Was it 140?
Exactly, it was.
Yeah.
Yes, I think you're right.
And don't even get me started about airbrush predictions, right?
Yeah.
So the FOV is better, not like groundbreaking, but it is better. It is noticeable. There may be a very small distortion, because there is one of environments that shows you huge planet Earth, like a huge globe that you see outside the window, and I think it's round, so it's easier to see the distortions. I think that sometimes if I really looked for it, when I moved my head around, I could see that this perfect circle, the globe, is getting slightly distorted, but it might have been maybe less because of the graphics, because I think it's flat there, this Earth, because it's like a background. So maybe it was just the background,
Yeah, if they're using a cube map or something like that, just as a background, it could be just where the seams are or something, because you do get distortions on.
Yeah. So that's a very good point. So I'm not saying, that it is there. It's just maybe it was just some kind of, because we didn't see it in the games. So so it works. What else? The controllers are good. They're ergonomic. They fit fine in the hand. The buttons are a bit squishy, but they're fine. And the tracking rings are in such a place that you don't, bump them when you close your hands together. That's nice.
Yeah.
I think also that the sweet spot and the edge-to-edge clarity is better because of the pancake lenses. That really, it's not like if you just move your eyes a bit to the left or right, it immediately becomes very blurry. It's better. If
that's
you
something, sorry to interrupt. There is because that's something that we've heard a lot about with the Quest Pro as well, based almost entirely on the pancake lenses, and people have actually taken images to compare these, and you can see it really clearly in terms of how far off to the edge that you can get without any of the problems that you'll get with Fresnel lenses at all. So this is one of the reasons that I would love to try a pancake lens based headset, honestly.
Yeah.
It is good, although if you move your eyes completely to extremely to one direction, I can notice that the image, maybe it's not blurred, but it's like starting to getting doubled. But I think just maybe the human sight like that, it works like that the image gets doubled on the edges. So I don't know if it's like my eyes or the lenses. I'm not sure. And the mechanical IPD adjustment is really like next gen, because you just change it in the app and you can hear the motor whirring, and changing it. So you don't do it manually. It's like this is. It's crazy that they use they put this expensive mechanism there. That
seems overkill, doesn't it?
Right.
I don't know why they put that in there, other than. For it to be like part of the general design of the Pro version or something like that they just thought we might as well keep it in for the difference in cost. I don't know, but that's that's the weirdest decision.
True.
It was quite a surprise. I don't know if you guys saw the Sean from Coffee and VR. I don't know if you saw his unboxing. He did like an impromptu live stream that he didn't really publicise, where he got his Pico, what he'd shipped in from the UK, and he's unboxing it. And he'd purposely not really watched anybody else's videos or coverage on it, so he could get sort of like his own unbiased view of it. And he opened it up, and he didn't realise this thing auto-adjusted. So he takes the Pico out of its box, and he starts sliding the lenses about. He goes, I wonder how these
nice.
were. I think the collective chat must have thought, no, stop. Don't force it.
Oh, my God. Hopefully he didn't break it.
No, it were fine.
Yeah. But it does... it officially supports, like, there's some kind of weird thing that you can enable a checkbox, like a warning, that you agree that... sorry, I'm a bit all over the place, but basically you can move them closer than it's officially supported. But
yes,
and then it may bump your nose or something. So
it gives you a warning, doesn't it? Saying
yeah. I actually tried to do this, and this gave me a warning, and then I tried to move it more, and then at one point it was just like spring back. Either it just touched my nose or something, and it just wouldn't allow me to move further. That was weird. But that was maybe just because of my nose. So yeah, and also the picture quality is good. I didn't notice that the colors are very washed out or that it's too dark. I know that pancake lenses they are darker, like they don't filter. They filter more of the light, and I think that's why the battery is so low. The battery time, it's 5,000 milliampere hour battery in the back, and you would expect it to work longer, but it works like 2 hours max. So that's weird.
Yeah,
maybe because of the screen that has to be very bright.
Yeah, the pushing brighter screen. I
but
guess.
The brightness was good. And I think Sebastian said that you only notice the lower brightness if you compare, side by side. If you just quickly put on Quest and then you put on Pico, then you can see it. But I didn't see it without the comparison, so I think the brightness is good. And I also wanted to thank Guy Godin for providing me a key to the virtual desktop. So he's a great guy, of course.
Yeah.
And I want to test it. I didn't test it yet. I wish I did, but I would do this before this program, but we have this national holiday in Poland, which is called like All Saints Day, and we go to visit people like our past relatives' graves. It's a very big deal in Poland. Like first November is like this holiday that all Poles like migrate, from the places where they live to the places where their dead relatives are located. So so you're probably familiar with that a bit.
Wow. And I didn't know about that.
Yeah, that's and I'm now I'm not at home. I live in Kraków, which is like this one of the biggest cities in Poland.
Yep.
And I went back to my hometown, which is a very small town. So
so that's where you are now.
Yeah, I am now. But I took my laptop and I took my microphone.
Yeah,
because I was prepared for talking with you guys. That's why I didn't test the virtual desktop, because I didn't have.
Okay,
I would do that. So sorry about that. But I heard it's really good. I heard it's great. I really hope that this may replace like Quest 2 or as a wireless alternative, because I can still use Index to play PC games with a wire. Yeah. And those controllers that are not that good, that we all agree.
Yes.
But I would love to play wirelessly, but on a better quality headset than Quest 2, because Quest 2 Link is good, of course, but still I think Pico can be better and better comfort, higher FOV, and it's a real magic that you can play Oculus exclusive games on Pico using virtual desktop.
That seems absolutely crazy. It's like, how does that even work?
Right? I mean, I'm not to give anyone ideas, but I'm really surprised that Facebook isn't blocking it. I mean, I hope they won't do it. I mean, they would be really just making themselves look very bad if they block it. So don't do it, guys. Someone will crack it.
Yeah, they won't make that mistake again. There was such a pushback and the amount of stuff suddenly sprung up with people saying, if you want to pirate stuff, do this, do that, do the other.
Exactly.
They instantly reversed it, didn't they? So
I remember that. I remember that well. So I think they won't be so suicidal this time. They won't shoot themselves in the foot. So I didn't test.
Quickly, just on the virtual desktop thing, because it does have its own sort of proprietary wireless streaming solution as well, doesn't it? But I've heard bad things about
Yeah, exactly.
that.
I didn't even test it. I heard so many bad things about it, and I heard that virtual desktop is that much superior. That's like no contest, right? So I didn't even test it. Like, why? I didn't bother.
Yeah,
I'm planning to use. I think virtual desktop is like a must buy for Pico.
Yeah, definitely.
I've heard very good things, so I have really great hopes for being able to play wirelessly. I mean, I don't think the wire is like the end of the world. I know there's a lot of hate for like to PSVR for the wire, but I disagree. I think it's manageable. What do you guys think about the wire?
I don't like the wire. I don't like it, but
I mean, I think no one likes it. Like,
no. This is the thing. Nobody likes it. Everybody would. The thing is, what gets me is where people pretend like, oh, it doesn't matter if it's got the wire or if it's not got the wire. That's the thing that gets me, because I think that everybody on planet Earth would prefer it to perform exactly the same way as it would with a wire, without a wire.
Exactly.
But I understand the limitations of technology at the moment and costs and things like this that mean that it needs to have a wire. So I'm okay with it. And also, I mean, I'm considering picking up a PSVR2, and the wire isn't going to stop me from doing that, of course.
Exactly. That's what I don't like. Like you mentioned one extreme, people who pretend falsely that the wire is no big deal, it's no difference. And there are people who say on the opposite spectrum, like the wire is like unbearable, it's unplayable, literally unplayable. I cannot play with the wire.
No.
Like, that's not true.
No, I don't think.
Honestly, one of the easiest tips, if a wire bothers you, if you feel it dragging that much, either get like off of eBay, get a little carabiner clip, or even like a springy key ring, hook that to your belt with the wire pass through it, and let some of the slack of the wire go from the headset to your belt.
Exactly.
You don't feel it.
It works.
Yeah.
I even printed. You can print. I used to print when I had Vive, the HTC Vive. They had this like flat cable, and you could print some kind of belt clip,
Right.
That you would just put the. Do you remember? Yeah, as I had it. I broke two of those. I actually and I broke two of those when I stepped on the cable.
One of the things as well, I don't know if any of you guys have tried these ceiling cable mount things. They never worked that well for me, and I tried different configurations of them, but I just couldn't get those.
They can break your wire because they twist it.
Right, yeah.
I've heard they really break your wire, and also the Wi-Fi acceptance factor. They have low Wi-Fi acceptance factor.
Yeah.
But the thing I hate worst about the wire, and it happened to me multiple times. I never got tangled in it. Like there's this D-Link advertisement where they show a person that gets completely tangled and falls to the floor, cringe. Yeah. But it happened to me multiple occasions. If I crouched and then I stepped on the cable, and when I would get up, I would yank it because I stepped on it and there was no slack. So when I was standing up, I would hold it down with my feet unconsciously, and then I would just yank it from my. But I never yanked it from my head completely. But there was this bad sensation when you feel that you are getting up and something is yanking your head back.
Yeah.
It happened to me multiple times, so I can confirm that's the thing that happens. I never got tangled in it around my I never got strangled by it
Yeah. The thing is as well, like in my office where I am at the moment, playing with the index with the wire doesn't really bother me. It's only when it's more when I'm in my living room with my family and they're doing things and I'm playing with the wire. That's really where it will affect me more. But at the same time, look, just to reiterate, I don't hate the wire. I just would prefer it to not have the
wire. And I think if you have the wire, you can just use rotation, right? Just stand in one place and just use rotation.
Yeah, and a lot of people as well with a PSVR 2, they will probably play seated. I've heard a lot of people say that they just want to play seated anyway, and it's not an issue then. Of course, it's not. No,
exactly.
Okay, is there anything else you want to mention on the Pico 4?
Nope, I didn't test. I didn't test it long enough to have a very definite opinion on it. I think it does lots of things well. I think it's better used as a PC, PC wireless thing.
Yeah,
HMD, because the software, there are lots of games, but you don't have Beat Saber. There are lots of games, but it's undercooked. It's still like early. I think it's very early.
Yeah.
Well, this is, I mean, we didn't mention it on the show, but one of the things I said to you before we started is the lack of the display port. It's one of the main things that stopped me from picking this up. That would have been like a big sort of a game changer in terms of a lot of people picking this up. So yeah, that would have made the selling of my index a lot easier to do, honestly.
Yeah, I would have like 0 reservations, from. I mean, I bought it anyway, but if it did have DisplayPort, it would be like a no-brainer completely. So yeah, I did wonder a bit before, but then I got scared because it was a bit of FOMO because I heard those rumors that it's going to be not available, right? Yeah. Because Pico said it. Maybe that was their plan,
Maybe
FOMO people, So they kind of scared me into like, if I don't get it now, who knows when I will be able to get it, right? So
yeah.
So that was a bit of that, but I mean, I don't regret it. This light leakage was the worst thing that happened at the very beginning. So this kind of it soured a bit. It soured it. My first experience to it, but after I used Sebastian's pro tip, it became better. So yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, thanks for giving us some of the impressions on that, because it's something that I'm still intrigued by the Pico for. It's not something I'm looking to pick up at the moment, but yeah, I do watch reviews and stuff like that and get impressions of the headset.
Actually, no, the Pico guys I met in Poland on that conference, they are from Britain, actually. They're British.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and I will give you contact to one of the guys. I had him on LinkedIn. So, I think he lived for 8 years in China, something like that. I think I overheard him saying that. So that's interesting. So yeah, I think they are British. So I think you may be able to somehow get acquainted and
that'd be great. Yeah, maybe we can invite them to the Retro Computing Museum.
Yeah, that was going to suggest. Yep.
Okay. Well, that's probably pretty much it for this show. Is there anything you wanted to wrap up with, Rog, at all?
No, I'm good, I think.
Okay.
The guy is called Samuel Martin. The guy is called Samuel Martin.
Pico.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
Yeah,
okay, well, yeah, send me some details behind the scenes. Is there anything you wanted to just wrap up on Simplex?
I just wanted to thank you guys for inviting me. It was I had great fun. I love your podcast. I really was happy that you started making a podcast because I am an orphan of VR Roundtable.
Oh,
yeah. We all are, right?
Yeah, no, it's I appreciate that. I love doing VR Roundtable, and hopefully maybe one day we'll get everybody back together to do another special show or something like that. I don't know. There's no plans, and I don't know how much everybody else is invested. But we did have Steve on a couple of weeks ago. So
yeah, I remember. So it was great, and I hope Anthony will come back at least like a guest appearance.
Yeah, I'd love to get Anthony on the show sometime. We seem to mention him pretty much every episode for some reason.
I was on his show. The first time I was ever like on an English language show. That was on Anthony, so I have great respect for him for that he invited me when I was a complete nobody, So yeah.
I remember seeing you on VR365. I remember because you went on that a couple of times, did you? And also at Sebastian's MRTV couple of times,
yeah. And I could use my cred from being on VR365, to convince Sebastian to invite me. So it's all thanks to Anthony. And now you are the third English language podcast that invited me. So I'm really happy and I'm grateful for you guys.
No problem.
It's been great getting you on here. I've watched your appearances on various podcasts on MRTV and on Anthony's show as well. So I know I sort of know we've never met. We never sort of crossed paths on MRTV or anything like that, and it was always a bit regretful with that because I've seen your appearances and I like the way you tell it how it is. And for anybody who speaks Polish and can understand Polish, then definitely check out Simplex's podcast, which of course I'll put links to in the description of this video and on the audio podcast as well. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us. It's been great talking about all this stuff. It's been another long show. Honestly, I don't know why I ever imposed this limitation because it's just impossible to stick to.
I knew it will be longer with me because I'm a really very talkative person.
Well, honestly, we're just getting longer anyway in terms of like these shows, and it's okay. I think we just got to roll with it. Honestly,
exactly. When there's a good flow, you shouldn't stop it. Just
exactly. Yeah,
the flow.
True.
That's true. Yeah. But yeah. Thanks for joining us. So that's pretty much it for this episode of Recentered. We'll be back in a couple of weeks, actually, we'll keep you updated about that. We've got a few plans on some episodes, so we'll keep you updated on that. But thank you very much for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time.
Yep. Cheers, everyone. 3rd of December, Retro Computer Museum in Leicester. Don't be late.
Yep. Check that out. Go on, Google it, Retro Computer Museum. See you later.
Cheers.
Bye.